I'm David Cogswell. I'm here with Joanne Hayes, Public Relations Manager of the Oyster Box Hotel in Durban, South Africa, and this is Insider Travel Report. And Joanne, let's talk about Oyster Box. It's one of 3 5-star hotels in Durban, which is quite a thing. But Oyster Box is unlike anything anywhere that you've ever seen, I promise you. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, the beauty of the Oyster Box is that it's an old hotel. It's been here for 70 years, and it had a massive refurb, facelift I call it, 15 years ago. And now the Oyster Box, it's family owned, family run, and it's got this whole legacy. So it's a 21st century, fabulous delivery, as you know, fabulous product, great service, great food, right on the beachfront and right on the ocean, access to the beach from the hotel. And it's got this beautiful legacy that we have been able to bring into the modern time, and so that people of all ages can enjoy the Oyster Box. It's very special, as you know, because you've been there a few times.
This hotel there's so much to talk about that I don't know how we can even pull this off, but Red Carnation is the owner of this hotel. They're an incredible hotel company that no hotel that they have is anything like any of the others. That's something to research on your own, but it's a fantastic hotel, Oyster Box, with a historic lighthouse right there. You'll see pictures of this place. You've never seen anything like it. The Tolman family is the owner of Red Carnation Hotels, and the head of Red Carnation or of the Travel Corporation, Stanley Tolman, and his wife Beatrice had a date there back in the 50s, right?
Right, and in fact, legacy has it that they used to come to Durban often. They were a young couple. Mrs. Tolman was a very good tennis player, and they used to come to Durban regularly. And he asked, he took her to dinner in our fine dining restaurant called the Grill Room. And it was at that dinner, she says, that she had her very first oyster, which she didn't particularly like, and proceeded to spit it out, which as she said, was not very ladylike. But it didn't put him off, clearly, because he apparently said to her, I'm going to buy this hotel one day. And I can't remember exactly, but it's, 30 or 40 years after that, they did buy it. And they closed the hotel down for a 2-year renovation period. And they took this beautiful sort of old but neglected building, and they kept all the essential elements and all the things that people who had stayed at the Oyster Box for so many years before remembered about it. This wonderful patio, having tea and scones on the patio with the beach and the sea. So they were able to bring it to this beautiful conclusion, which we now have, and it was also all with their vision and with their dream of owning the Oyster Box and many other hotels around the world like it. Also, actually, I just remembered now, Mr. Tolman, we have a very famous horse race in Durban called the Durban July, and it happens in July, and it's very famous. And apparently, I think it was in like 1961 or something, they were down from Johannesburg in Durban to attend the horse race, and Mr. Tolman won money on the winning horse, and with that he bought her engagement ring. So there's a lot of connections to the hotel. I mean, it was just, they had to buy it sometime, didn't they?
So when was it built, the original Oyster Box?
Well, it was in the 1940s. It was actually, the Oyster Box Hotel only became a hotel much later. It was a sort of a casual kind of tea garden. And it was owned by a British lady who came out, she and her husband, from the UK, and they ran a tea garden from there. And then they got so much interest in the place. And when you see the old pictures, I mean, it's quite funny to see the hotel now the way it is, and then see all these old tea tables and these people in these funny outfits having tea and scones in the garden. But they then, people were so interested they wanted to stay over, so they built some accommodation, and it was called the Oyster Lodge. And it was only a few years after that that they started to build the hotel. And the hotel is, when we started doing the refurbishment, it was this hodgepodge of, I think every time she went on a trip somewhere in the world, the owner, her name was Kay Hill, she got inspired by another place. So at the Oyster Box now you'll see beautiful old original ceramics from Portugal and Morocco and Spain and Greece and Italy, and she just brought them all back with her. I always think about what she would have paid in excess luggage today, but of course in those days they travelled by ship, so you could put as much into your suitcase as you could. So yeah, there's a lot of original stuff that is still at the Oyster Box today, and that's the beauty of the Oyster Box. It's this absolutely, sort of with the Mediterranean influence, but also with like an Asian influence, that palm court that's got those beautiful rattan fans, that's for like something from Raffles in Singapore or the East. So it's this gorgeous mix of things that make it the Oyster Box what it is today.
So yeah, Oyster Box has a very distinguished restaurant, very well known, the Ocean Terrace. Can we talk about that a little bit?
The Ocean Terrace has these amazing sea views of the Indian Ocean, and it's a very casual kind of restaurant. It's got an indoor and an outdoor option. If it's the middle of summer, it's very humid here and it's very, very hot, so people prefer to sit inside with the aircon, but I like to sit outside all the time because where else would you get a view like that? But the distinctive thing, apart from the location and these gorgeous views, is that we offer a curry buffet every single day at the Oyster Box in this restaurant. And the curry is the history of Durban. It is the home of curries in South Africa. So we have quite a lot of our history is linked to the Indian population that came out in the 1900s to work on the sugar plantations. It was during British rule, so we were a colony of Britain at the time. And a lot of those people never went back to India, but stayed here and developed the Indian culture sort of Durban style. So there are a lot of little funny little things that have kind of come about because the Indian culture from India and the local people kind of mixed together. But generally we have, at this curry buffet, every day we have 11 curries on offer. We make all our own condiments, we make all our own Indian breads, our Indian desserts, because a lot of our chefs are Indian chefs, so they come with first-hand knowledge. And if you're coming to Durban, you have to come to the Oyster Box. And if you come to the Oyster Box, you've got to have a curry. So that's the Ocean Terrace for you, and our fabulous, they call it the incredible curry buffet.
And it is, yes. Well, I think we could go on all day. I know we actually could, but we'll cut it short here. You must go to the Oyster Box. You must see the Oyster Box yourself. Go online, look at pictures of it. It's fantastic, and we'll close it out there. Joanne, thank you very much for being with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and we look forward to you coming back again.
Oh, let's go today. All right. Okay, thank you. And this is David Cogswell with Insider Travel Report. Thank you very much. Travel safely, but travel. Thank you.